This one. And it's a strange choice. Default control scheme. Let's just put that out of the way. There is no need for move one. Does have a copy of the European version? Very well.
The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace.
The only differences between these versions are the existence of these various subtitles alongside this cutscene. Not even sure if they bothered to rewrite any of the item descriptions and the basic instructions that come with them when you collect equipment. Oh, there's been further lines hiding behind that are not nudging my way over to. Here we are. So, like with Fusion, I'm highly acquainted with Super. Probably just be meandering about, doing everything largely in the order intended. Just meandering about, enjoying the sights and sounds. That fight ends after either an amount of damage or... well, after an amount of damage, either yours or his. Other than running down that timer, there's no way to fail at this section. Thanks, Captain. Probably gonna spend long stretches of this at a loss of any particular thing to say. There's just much about this has already been said. Comments? Not intending to wander off in any particular direction here, other than forward. I'm just briefly reacquainting myself with the physics. Which, while strange, do give you a really great degree of power, particularly once you engage in wall jumping shenanigans, just being able to bounce off a single surface indefinitely. Like that. I'm over here now. Lenin Squares. Kind of apt to spend this opening segment just appreciating the atmosphere. Metroid did a lot in terms of setting the standards of the genre, and a lot in terms of trying things, in terms of having some degree of unspoken storytelling, asserting, theme and atmosphere and presence with the technology of the day. It would be, at this point, very overwrought and mimetic to make the comparison to Souls, but it's a relatively apt comparison in terms of what it tries to do in terms of letting the player connect the dots for some of the things depicted. A little straightforward exposition at the start to set the stage, and then just drop you into things. Like, here we are. Even if you hadn't played the first game and recognized this whole bit as a recreation of the end of that, you would have seen it in the opening cutscene. But yeah, here's that arena where you fought that thing. The past. Yep. There it is, just nice and quiet, filled with ominous stank. And for that referential connection again, this here and the ones right next to it. A vague reconstruction of the first couple of rooms of the original game. Which you might recognize. Then yeah, over here. Your helpful orb. Bloodwind. They actually planned this around, yeah, line of sight. Probably just in terms of tile set, but yeah. Understands which spots you would, not up there, apparently. Until I reach the top. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah. Security eye, whining at you. Things are perhaps not so dead. And while this was made in the era wherein, you know, manuals were substantial and made and written and expected to be used and actually used by users, there's still a degree of intuitive laying together of things. It's like, hey, yeah, doors. Those with weapon. Different door. Does not respond. But wait, you just got a thing. This item being placed up here in the roof, that is also a reference. Another room that's kind of a vague remake of the classic room. Don't think outside of some kind of physics wizardry that it'd be able to reach that without some kind of upgrade, though. At least bomb. And let's see, this also, played the game extensively. I'm acquainted with many of its shenanigans. I've actually never really done any speedrunning tricks. In particular, formative one, I have never mock bowled. I attempt to execute that at the relevant time just to see it happen. But yeah, so it's a trick where you can maintain and like increase a lot of momentum in ways you shouldn't be able to. Going into the ball at just the right moment so that you don't bounce when you hit the floor. Process of run, hop, orb at the right time, and you will continue to roll, and hey, lights are on. Everyone is home. They cleared out the musk pretty quickly. Perhaps the musk itself was artificial. A deliberate ruse to conceal the base. Until it became clear that you were onto them. Very conveniently, the moment you're in and out of that, you've received first basic map and immediately presents you with the promise of areas yet to come. Ones you won't be in for a relative while. Although you already have heard of them by way of the manual. This, yes. Convolution. Establish right away that you will need many a verb. Map of many phrases. Complex convolutions that must be overcome. A conspicuous bubble wall. have been an appropriate span of time for one to insert their own joke about all of those Miiverse posts. Eruption of confusion. Around the re-release of the game on Virtual Console some time ago. No further time will be allotted to that line of discussion. We have item to receive. There's some way to fling your way out of this room, I believe, without needing to engage the boss. But whatever, here's a boss. It's a pretty straightforward fight, and one that introduces you to a lot of the rules that will apply in all the future boss fights. For the most part. It's lenient in that, naturally, since you don't have Charge Beam yet, he does not want Charge Beam at all, but... There's a fellow. Strike him with your weapons. You will produce some kind of destroyable object, which you can refill. Now we can do this. Some combination of having that rhythm down properly and precision movement control can allow you to get pretty much anywhere you feel like. I think there are slightly different rhythms for like pure vertical movement versus diagonal or horizontal movement. Something they actually made more lenient in Zero Mission to allow for greater acrobatic shenanigans. That might have been the right timing for the ball portion. I did not bounce at all when I struck the ground. I'm allotted for more extensive flailing about attempting to execute that. Once I reach the appropriate zone. As a time and place in which it is most relevant. diagonal rooms. They don't do much of. Especially then drawing the room on the map as a diagonal. Kind of like, hey, here's the thing. And also, as soon as you cross that line, you transition over into this kind of new tile set that doesn't... Like the whole down below area we were just in, the old Torian, that all modeled pretty closely on how things looked in the first game. So once you're done with that little sequence, it's the point where it's like, okay, now the game starts. Welcome, hello, you've cleared our introduction. Time to get serious. Like these fellows who are immune to regular beam. You must at times use your weapons as weapons to defeat your enemies. And naturally a player is not going to resist the obvious signal of, hey, here's a more secure door that the map says there's nothing here. And here with this ominous glowing corridor, and this. Yeah, it's our long-term objective. Not too far away from where the old command center was. They've dug in and built the new one and secured it behind the boys. Defeat the boys and claim their noise. Audio does seem to be clipping a little. May take a moment to relaunch something. Alright, let's see if this is any help. On our way then. into this jungle that's in a cave. Wherein I believe, yes, this is our point of interest as far as exploitative shenanigans go. So the player is granted a reward for coming in here, regardless. As a nice little conservation of time, and then presented with a devious obstacle. Crumbling floors, and powerful bars that we descend on. Sprint button? What's that? But in particular, even if you do sprint across that, you are not fast enough to cover the distance. You need to come back after becoming even faster, or after becoming aware of how to execute a certain trick, which... let's see. Alright, there's the soft landing. Well, not quite there. Nope. Alright, so that element is understood. And it's just a matter of get up. And this particular one is easier to set up if you actually start your journey from over here. Somewhere over there, such that you're actually launching yourself onto this upper platform from outside. Wait, actually... Alright, I think that was close. Just need to reset the room. And then execute it again another unknown number of times. Practice. There. Not quite. Almost, though. What do you do? Cut that Anakin motion as you hit the ground. entirely wrong. Just go ahead and reduce the intensity of the fan. I assure you, I will only hammer at this so long. I think on the failed attempts where it was actually rolling, it was like executing the maneuver properly, but without having the speed of a dash actually in storage. Yeah, it's definitely not it. No speed in that whatsoever. There. That's the ticket. It's only very slightly faster than regular rolling, but just enough. We get at this weird redundant item that has nothing to do with why I came here. This helpful, friendly, regular item. And the more important prize is on the way back out. Yeah, reserve tanks are weird. They're like, I just pop over. They're a health container for, you know, when you're already maxed out on health. Extra energy goes into those, and then you can have them pop into your health later when you need them. Except it's 1-to-1 conversion on the storage, and it's not like there's some kind of loss. And you can have them auto-deploy, so it's not like a thing where you need to be paying attention on when to inject them into your health. So it's just extra health. They're regular health tanks, really, in practice. Health tanks that cause time to freeze briefly while they administer themselves. Anyway, the true prize of having done all that is up here. If I can just... Gentlemen. So under the normal route, the first super missile in the game is a ways after this. It's somewhere in that space between over here and over there. And, you know, there's a mini-boss you have to wander off and fight in order to collect it and then be permitted to move on. So doing that and getting this early lets you skip that boss and everything to do with them. I'm still gonna go and fight it anyway, but... Hey, look, you did a trick. Super missile, for its own sake. Yeah, he is up there in the upper reaches of that zone. And you would not be able normally to go past the bottom of this too wide column here. However, possessing the super missile early, you can scoot on down below and continue to the rest of that stuff. I will be brushing against every map square to the best of my recollection. And then probably also just grabbing a map. If it becomes necessary, just to recall some particular bit or bob. It's unlikely to be anything to get hung up on, though. Super does not have as many elaborate movement challenges in place as the more advanced rudeness that's in Fusion and Zero Mission. Here we have mere introductory rudeness. Not here this room, but here this game. I suppose here this room as well, since, oh boy, a missile recharge station. What a prize! Victory achieved. It's also very nice of the game to very early give you your basic tool for inspecting miscellaneous bricks, and so you're very quickly, as you're going through the early steps of this area, introduced to the idea that there's going to be a couple of other items that destroy bricks that you don't have yet. Just right away presented with thing you'll do later. All over the place. You'll revisit here, and there, and everywhere. You know what? Let's head down first for convenience. Even though this is what would be the dead end if I weren't being devious and underhanded with momentum. is also home to something else. The moon. Which is to say our first beam upgrade. Debut of charging beam. And there's the door that we'd normally not be able to open, but could open, but won't open. Not early. That will pay due respect to the sequence. Also home of, well, glorious return of obnoxious refilling of health by way of, you know, tiny enemy tube. There are some direct full recharge stations distributed about the world, but a lot of times you're just stuck harvesting regular folks. There was at least a step up over the original game, both tiny health and less tiny health. And in other places there are advanced tube that produce many creatures. High density tube. Really, none of those bugs dropped anything for me. Painful creatures. Also, despite the looks, this is not damage floor. It's just thorny. Come on, we're wearing shoes. We're wearing beyond shoes. And here's that mini-boss. Per the established convention, it will produce things you can break for pickups. Damn. Denied. Because also per the established convention, when vulnerable, it must be worked by way of better than regular attacks. Charged beam, or some manner of missile. Regular beam will not suffice. Charged bomb. A weird little thing. There, he is defeated. A fairly straightforward miniature boss. Nice atmospheric room. Nice change of appearance after defeat. Simple, straightforward confrontation. Here, what would be your first super missile under ordinary circumstances? Instead, our second. And I think in speedrun routes, they also duck in here through the back way of what's supposed to be the exit. Sometimes just quickly scoot in and grab an extra super missile. Certainly in the 100% runs. They just quickly dart in the back. Simple, weird environment touch that there are enemies that fall out of the ceiling. Sheer force of impact of the more bigger missile. And yeah, that was a grab thing, that's a powerbomb thing. So we're largely good as far as stuff to collect with currently available equipment. Existing technology. Wonderful world of off-the-shelf parts. And some rewards for exploration of one's environment. And a little, for now, one-way barrier. Outside of, there are shenanigans you can do to sneak an attack hitbox through these pillars and snap them open from the wrong side. But yeah, under normal circumstances, passing by this locks you into the next area of the game. There's no going back to there for a while. You have to commit to going deeper and deeper into the zone. You're not intended to proceed up this column without access to several other tools. If you're being clever, you can do without. Clever or particularly dexterous. Well, and. Timing would be kind of rude to try to sneak through those fellows just on pure wall jumping. But yes, there's a whole area up there that's for later. Though one could break all the rules and visit it early. there's this other sawtooth that further exists to lock you deeper into this zone. Just to very firmly hammer home that sense of, yep, you are getting in farther relative to one's head than you'd been previously. Wait, yeah, it's the next of these rooms where I do that. Not right here. These rooms where they make sure that you get acquainted with water. Just briefly, just a quick handshake with water. There it is. It hinders you. You're not strongly intended to get up here either without further tools, but you can manage. And receive the moon. Other beam upgrade. This will stay with us for a while. This sort of exists to be the only reason, for the most part, that you have the ability to toggle all these power-ups on and off at any time. That this is mutually exclusive with one of the other beams. You choose between this or the other. Most unpleasant return hatch. You have this little more accessible bit of the ceiling just to give the player a chance to realize that there's something up here, just in case the square on the map didn't tip them off. Just be like, a puzzle, a mystery. We could go up, but how? Very briefly, while otherwise normally commuting through that area, they make you pass through a different zone. For that interconnection of the map and that little bit of foreshadowing. Debut of iconic breakable tube. Let's see, I can also bust in here, and that, once again, here's a thing that's supposed to be inaccessible at this time. With sufficient mastery of the rhythm, I could put myself up there anyway. Very much off the rhythm. It doesn't help that the nature of the rhythm changes. The various bomb jump having installations, well, iterations of the series. Not quite. That arc would not permit. Whatever, I'll go get the necessary thing. it is a generally useful piece of equipment anyway. As you get taken even further off track, you have this whole leg of the game that, after you've been introduced to just the concept of the like high order objective that you have of slaying the boys, before you even make your way to where you reasonably expect the first of them to be, you get dragged off into detours that make you just briefly touch on several of the other areas. But this one very quickly communicates that you'll be back later. Don't worry, you're not here to stay. This is just a visit. You need hot verb and fast verb and all sorts of verbs. Still, they appreciate your company. Your stay will not be unrewarded. A very, very elegantly simple room to demonstrate a thing you are about to receive. Here's a bar. You can jump over it, but not quite from this side. If only you had boots. Some sort of new shoes. Which, the other thing that justifies having this equipped screen at all is that there's slight visual differences for various bits of gear. Not all of them, but several have little cosmetic things they throw onto that diagram. As we now have new shoes by which to up. It also fits very cleanly into the whole dialogue of this progression that's brought you steadily off course with a series of escalations as you get dragged farther and farther down. But this is as far as they're going to take you off course for the time being. They just immediately reward you with something that fills a gap that you were in front of. Don't get too comfortable, though. You'll be back later. You're just visiting. Just take your shoes and go. Rubbing against more squares for the hell of it. But you're very quickly just communicated to not move in any of the other directions. Just organically, various different kinds of barrier that you'll be able to overcome later. That fundamental cycle of progression this whole genre is about. Arrive in an area, zounds, an obstacle. I am truly vexed by this insurpassable barrier. But then, what luck? A verb by which to overcome it. And there we go, the regular way to be up here. think that's tied to the boss. Like, Grey Door is always open in response to killing something, but it's not necessarily something local. Sometimes it's an event flag somewhere else. Even the mock screw attack is powerful enough for these. It hits relatively hard, it just doesn't persist. New Beam, also powerful enough to overcome Green Pirate. Something that may have been lost on people who played this game on its own without any experience with the prior one. In first Metroid, with Kraid and Ridley are roughly the size of the player, and are encountered with about this much fanfare. Of just, yeah, here's a guy. There he is. A reasonably rude fellow, launching things at you. Good job, you did it. Victory. You defeated. So yes, for one who is only familiar with this one, that's why Mini Kraid is here. It's a recreation of just like, hey, here's a boss, like the ones you remember back in the other thing. I suppose the impact of we're doing bigger things with the bosses and so forth. You've already had that expectation properly primed by the encounter with Ridley back on the colony, the science station. So yeah, you beat the bot, good job. You did it. Fought the man, go collect your prize. That's surely what's waiting for you in these next rooms. Victory. Yep, better get all filled up with all my bits and bobs and accessories because I've just triumphed over my enemy and nothing's going to get in my way. I'm going to be very thoroughly stocked to celebrate all the good times that we've had defeating the first of the four boys. And here's the remains of a fellow who was given a backstory in a comic. Printed in Nintendo Power, of all things. But as presented here, it's just some other schmuck. Some fellow in armor who came here to do the violence, but could not overcome a door. A door who was surely the last line of defense. Yeah, that's Houston. A door that is surely the last line of defense between us and treasure. But we've already defeated the boss. Yep, nothing but this vast field of celebration. Our prize, Kraid. I considered loitering around on this phase of the fight, but why bother? Let's immediately step up to full Kraid. So yes, he shoot him in the face or wait for certain moments in his pattern to make him roar, and then hit him in the open mouth to do damage. There are shenanigans that can be done to get him in one cycle while he's still down on the floor. The moment he's taken a certain threshold of damage, which is 1 super missile's worth, he steps up to the full fight. He just gets everywhere. And he has at these little claws that he's launching around in order to keep pressure on you, but also be his requisite consumable thing you can collect. It doesn't take long. Also, damn rude of... So, as he's dying, the platforms collapse and the spikes get removed from the floor, but evidently not quick enough that the place is actually rendered safe. One could, if they were having a rough time with this boss, be very low on health, but have landed the killing blow and then drop on the spikes and explode. What a time that would be. Orb. Containing orb. Containing suit. We have attained warm verb. Or counter warm verb. With it are, like, slightly spiky shoulders and new orange color scheme. Iconic shoulder mode. Why are you even still here? Get out of my way. A time-saving measure when you're in rooms with gray doors. If you break open both of the doors in the room, or however many gray doors there are on your first visit, they will stay broken. Each of them is only a gray door once, and then it becomes regular blue. That way, on future second visits, you would not need to re-slay the enemies in order to open the doors. There's another area in particular where I found that particularly helpful. Just a place that contains enough hostiles to be irritating to need to clear. Now you're equipped to go farther. And not yet equipped to go back through any of the other places you're aware of at this point. All those barriers locking you in the depths are still firmly in place. Out of all the directions you know of, this is the only one that's been added. So you are now resistant to heat. me just drop down here and go on an adventure. Strange new creatures. It is my default state of being to be terribly careless and lazy with a lot of these regular enemies. Most monsters are not particularly threatening in this. Your challenges are navigational rather than tactical. Yeah, this room, just sort of for the hell of it, introduces you to the thought of rooms that have timed things going on in them. This one doesn't do anything with it, but just creates the possibility that it could happen more in future rooms. So that later, when you see ominous rumbling, you'll be like, ah, magma. My old friend. I feel like with a tricky enough wall jump, you could get up there sooner. But that is just the other end of a little bit of convolution. It's not far off. We are in here to find the way to get back around up there. The possibility of things crawling into that little alcove back there would make sure that the player's shown that they could end up under the floor. And this connects back to earlier. Large open corridor with mysterious arrow bricks. And there's some multi-bees. A more convenient enemy spawn thing. Much more economical. Fine use of time. Thinking about how deep into this I'm allowed to go. May just be a recovery room. Have to go and consult one of the more complete maps. I'm gonna try to engage more of those platforming challenges over the course of this run. Plenty of interesting platforming waiting to be done in this. Spent a long time not dignifying it with response. Ominous door that's waiting to be investigated later. Good open-ended level design to just make sure that the player, in the course of going where you expect them or would like them to, brushes against a bunch of things they're going to do later. Now look, magma. It's really slow magma, you have plenty of time to execute this. I almost feel like there's an item down there I was supposed to get. By rushing ahead of the magma, perhaps not. Now, Skip, I am definitely, well, not Skip, but early access to a thing that I am looking to execute, which is actually not accessed from down here, even though it is in this room. It's part of the stuff that's above me right now. There's a beam upgrade that you can get at sooner than you should. And it is quite helpful, so I am going to track it down. It is behind that door there. This is not the way to get to it. It's the way to get back after you've visited it. Or maybe not even that, maybe just a way to be allowed to look at the door. Where, let's see, I could possibly save time getting up there from down here. But for the most part, I just need to reach those platforms by going around. And then the part that's supposed to be a barrier to entry is after those. And they make sure to give you something for being able to get partway here. Multi-layered obstacles usually have a reward of some sort for getting through one layer, even though you shouldn't be allowed to do all of it. You show up and you see, hey, I'll promise of something else later. For now, have a missile, but remember, weird brick with hole in it. Brick with teeth. Whatever that is, surely it will matter someday. Someday, like today. Once more, the moon. Although, actually, a lot of these are some sort of weird creature thing laying on their back, holding the weapon orb. can see this is kind of some kind of weird. I suppose maybe if you like squint at it the right way, it's supposed to be some kind of bird-like creature. Has some birdish aspects to it. Kind of flat, broad, beaky head. You have a statue of a bird holding another smaller statue of a bird holding the item. Perhaps inside that orb there's another smaller bird. And here's a wave beam. Damage improvement and wall piercing. For purposes of the main progress chain in this one, it's optional. You do not need the wave beam to succeed at any of the plot-required obstacles. And there's your escape valve for if you accidentally fall into that pit, so you're not actually borked just for having dared to challenge the spike hole. With the wave beam, we can kill enemies that are lurking inside of the terrain before they show up. Handy that. At last. Cube. Turn right back around and go in here again. Everything is fine. And I can collect map squares in peace. As it should be. Sufficient mastery of rhythm, I could get up there regardless. Not gonna subject myself to it though. There's just gonna be items up in that hole in the wall there. Some manner of pickup. Numbers will increase during some sort of roundup of miscellaneous collectible. For now, we're equipped to go fast. And yeah, I could better get back. In fact, I'm sort of expected to get back that way. The good stuff. Means I could now just force my way into this room over here if it felt like it. Wave beam will pierce that shutter. Or, well... if I knew the particular timings and windows to slip a super missile through that, I could force my way through there early. It's a way back from somewhere else, though, so there's not too much reason to. I will pay some respect to the sequence as I brandish my wave beam in all directions. Once again, just that very quick response of as you break into somewhere new, you're shown yet more somewhere new that you can't get yet. Cycle of exploration. More items, more problems. Yeah, like this one, it's some kind of... once again, some kind of creature, kind of... little, maybe a bit of a hedgehog thing. Yeah, it's got like spines on the back and just kind of a face that's looking up smugly and is holding an orb in its hands. I think there's more detailed art for these that confirms that each of the beam pickups is some kind of small animal. Ice, by which to freeze. And you're right away given something on which to experience the joys of freezing enemies and sawtoothed nature of the way you got in here directs your attention to this other place to try out your new toy. And hey, you remember those guys? Those guys who were infesting that column? Perhaps you could do things with them, with your verbs. Continuous, unspoken dialogue between the designer and the player. If you had not figured out how you did juke your way up there earlier, the high jump boots would let you access the spizzer more easily. Still, dampness. It vexes us. Even the slightest case of wet feet completely obstructs your ability to move. The future. And now, having the wave beam, I could also proceed back through that shuttering. Revisit anything up there. However I pleased. Not relevant yet, though. I have more directions to move. Like over here. Where you can be chewed on by flowers, above or below. This is a room that, it's more convenient to navigate if you turn off the high jump boots. It's one of the few places where you have a firm reason that you might favor going without a power-up rather than keeping everything on. At last. Let's try it out right away and be rewarded. Power bomb. By which to explore many breakable things. By which to learn that fewer things than you thought are breakable. Or rather, more things than you thought are breakable. Fewer things aren't breakable. By which to learn that you're bad at estimating how fragile things are. And yes, yellow door, now open. And not too long after getting it, your first opportunity to, use bomb to get bombed. Celebrate. And get a feel for about how far the reach of the bomb is. Not crazy far, but adequately far. now proceeding to internally remind myself of the sequence. How it is enforced. That being, hey, look, weird bricks. You are not equipped to interact with them, and dreaded water bars your path. You can evade this room and, well, not evade the room, but evade the challenge in the room with a well-placed Shine Spark. Running from just the right position in here and launching appropriately, you can just send yourself careening through that and be done with it somewhere around here. Launch from there and you'll just successfully zoop on through and crash through, even get the missile on your way. And so access that area sooner than would be normal. But in a nice act of closing some circles, you're promptly deposited back at the ship. And you get to experience a moment of measuring how much more mobile you've gotten. Experience your hard-earned freedom. Discover aspects of the map you weren't aware of your previous tours. Get up there would actually... Probably not intended to be able to access that with Shine Sparks. And timing is a little weird for the diagonal ones. I should promptly check into the boat so as to avoid destroying myself while trying mobility tricks. I think I can get into that corner prematurely. There's another thing that's hidden here that I can definitely launch myself into. Man, can you even diagonal spark in this? Perhaps not. Yeah, there's a thing on the left you can break into this wall. Yeah, here's the thing. Normally you'd only come up here with the screw attack, but it's doable with Power Bomb. Both accessing the room and clearing all the obstacles within it. That helpful claw, removing me from the deadly acid. Very safety-minded thing. Now, over here. Come on. Come on. Let me... Ah, damn. I'll have to go all the way back around. I don't want to try for either of those. If you make sure to descend down the middle, I think you can get both of them in one cycle. We have received neither. Them's the brakes. Oh yeah, now we're all the way back here. Let's go ahead and snag some loose ends. Get some helpful ordinary items. Yeah, for the way back out there, there's that courteous tube that you'll be bounced into. Plenty of good conservation of detail on this map. Takes plenty of opportunities to just have the player naturally wrap back around to other things. You can take all manner of organic routes through it. Just hope something drops a power bomb before I get all the way down here. Come on, anyone at all. Because as I may as well illustrate upon returning here. The camera is gone, and that's a power bomb wall. Allows us to connect back up over there and re-enter primary Brinstar, upper Brinstar. Just need to receive bomb. Right, this also wants power bomb. A lot of greedy rooms in here. Item farming. Come on, somebody drop an explosive. Anyone at all. I am left wondering if these are capable of dropping power bomb. It might be off limits. Isolated to some other area. Unfortunate if true. That's a really nice connection to have, just to get back around. Especially since you will be returning to this area shortly after you've gotten Power Bomb. Only I hadn't spent them all. Wasted on that upper corridor. Nothing but this useless energy tank. Well, if nothing else, I can just make my way back to the ship. Free ammo, refill, and a world of possibilities. Like figuring out how to get to that corridor. Well, corner, that ledge. Alright, so neutral spine shark. Defaults to up. Any amount of side immediately launches you into lateral shark. I may have to wait. Regardless, a fair enough stretch. One of 4 kings slain, and many verbs harvested. With many more remaining. Thing about the orb in this one, it doesn't sit still, it's just constantly rotating. Restless orb.